Chapter 3721. Babe-alike with the sound of the collision, Jian Wushuang blocked all the saber-lights that Blood Saber Emperor used. Amazing! I used my most powerful secret skill, and the divine power that burst out at this moment is no less than that of an ordinary ruler. But he can still block my saber-lights so easily? Blood Saber Emperor's eyes were full of excitement. In the next moment, he no longer held back. Blood Sword Master, take my strongest saber. As soon as he finished speaking, Blood Saber Emperor's figure suddenly retreated. As he retreated, the blood-colored bewitching charm battle saber in his hand suddenly slashed out. Whoosh! Whoosh! Endless blood-colored saber-lights suddenly burst out. Each of these blood-colored saber-lights was like a blood-colored moon. There were hundreds and thousands of these blood-colored saber-lights. They were like an enormous ocean of saber-lights, blotting out the sky and covering the sun. For a moment, the entire world was covered by this ocean of blood-colored blade lights. At the center of this ocean of blood-colored blade lights, an aura that could make countless principles masters tremble suddenly rose. At the end of the horizon, a cold blood-colored light rushed straight over. This blood-colored light was incomparably dazzling. At the moment it lit up, the entire ocean of blood-colored blade lights around it seemed to have lost its color. The entire world seemed to have turned completely dark. In this boundless darkness, there was only this blood light left. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, it was the focus of the world and the only color in the world. This saber move is not bad. Jian Wushuang smiled slightly. He still did not draw his sword. He still used his finger as a sword. When the bloodlight approached him, his right finger also stretched out straight like a sharp sword, stabbing toward the void in front of him. Jian Wushuang still did not use his sword skill. Instead, he simply stabbed forward. However, there was an extremely dense sword principle universe origin in his hand. In an instant, everything around him disappeared. The sea of blood-red saberlight had completely disappeared. The bloodlight, which had previously been the only color in the world, immediately dimmed and almost disappeared. Jian Wushuang's finger, which did not contain any power, had already touched the Blood Saber Emperor's chest. You lost, Jian Wushuang said lightly. How is this possible? The Blood Saber Emperor still stood there, staring at the finger on his chest. His eyes were wide open, and his mind was blank. He was completely dumbfounded. He did not expect that his most powerful saber move, which he was proud of, was already an ultimate skill at the ruler realm. In addition, after he used the secret skill, he temporarily had divine power comparable to that of a ruler. At this moment, his battle strength should be infinitely close to that of a ruler. However, such a saber move was still easily defeated by Jian Wushuang. He did not even draw his sword. He just used his fingers to defeat his swordsmanship and then pressed it on his chest. It felt like a giant was bullying a weak baby. He could see that Jian Wushuang did not use his full strength. He had always been casual and easy, but even so, he still easily defeated him. He was completely crushed by Jian Wushuang, and he was bullied by Jian Wushuang. In the void, the Divine Master, who had been watching the battle, was also stunned. How could it be? How could the Blood Saber Emperor be defeated so miserably? Even if the Blood Sword Master is more powerful than the Blood Saber Emperor, he didn't know that the gap is so big. Could it be? The Divine Master immediately thought of a possibility. At this moment, the Blood Saber Emperor had barely calmed down. He raised his head and looked deeply at Jian Wushuang, asking, Blood Sword Master, have you become a ruler? A ruler? Jian Wushuang was stunned, but then he laughed. I haven't become a ruler, but my strength has long surpassed that of an ordinary primary ruler. You haven't broken through to the ruler realm, but your battle strength has surpassed that of an ordinary ruler? Blood Saber Emperor was stunned. After a long while, he let out a helpless sigh. It seems that I've entered the heaven viewing realm. I thought that I should be the strongest among the principles masters. Even if you were stronger than me, you wouldn't be much stronger. But in the end, you're much stronger than me. You're on a completely different level. Blood Saber Emperor, don't be discouraged. I'm able to reach this stage not only because I have many special reasons, but also because I've had some special encounters. As for you, you're indeed very terrifying among the principal's masters, Jian Wushuang said. He did not say this to comfort Blood Saber Emperor, but because the latter's strength was indeed very impressive. At least among the principal's masters, the Blood Saber Emperor's strength was definitely recognized by Jian Wushuang. He was a special life form and had a powerful divine power secret skill. He could release divine power that was not inferior to that of an ordinary primary ruler in a short period of time. In addition, he had created an absolute art at the level of a ruler. Such strength, to a certain extent, he was not much weaker than a primary ruler. No matter how powerful I am no match for you. This battle with you has made me realize that there is always someone stronger than me. In this star field alone, there are many principal's masters who are far stronger than me, not to mention the entire vast universe. There must be many more terrifying geniuses and great beings like you, or even stronger than you. I cannot wait any longer. After the competition in the Red Cloud world is over, I'll set off to the depths of the universe. Blood Saber Emperor said. You're going to explore the depths of the universe? Jian Wushuang was shocked. Blood Saber Emperor, who was watching the battle in the void, was also shocked. He did not expect that Blood Saber Emperor would have such a thought after the battle with Jian Wushuang. Blood Sword Master, thank you for this battle, Blood Saber Emperor said. You're welcome. Jian Wushuang was calm. By the way, there's something you don't know yet, right? Blood Saber Emperor suddenly asked. What is it? Jian Wushuang asked. Not long ago, a sword stone was born around the 17th ruins on the third continent, Blood Saber Emperor said. Sword stone? Jian Wushuang was stunned. He was on the third continent, and Daoist Shen God had been collecting information about the Red Cloud world through various channels, but he had never heard of any sword stone. What's so special about this sword stone? Who got it in the end? Jian Wushuang asked. I don't know its specific use, but I'm sure it's very useful for cultivators who are comprehending sword principle. When it was born, it was connected to the Red Cloud world, so no one could take it away. Therefore, it should still be there. If you have time, you can go and take a look yourself, Blood Saber Emperor said. Chapter 3722. Swordstone. Blood Saber Emperor and Divine Master Qian Hen soon left. However, Blood Saber Emperor told Jian Wushuang about the existence of the Sword Stone. Sword Stone? Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Since it happened to appear on the third continent, I can't miss it. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate and headed straight for the Sword Stone. The Red Cloud world was very large, with 7 continents. The third continent alone was extremely vast, covering a radius of billions of miles. Within this billions of miles, there were a large number of ruins, which were marked by the experts of this star field for identification. The 17th ruins should be near the center of the third continent, so Jian Wushuang soon arrived there. After arriving at the 17th ruins, Jian Wushuang spread out his soul power and easily found the Sword Stone. That's the Sword Stone? Jian Wushuang frowned slightly. There was indeed a huge bloodstone in his soul perception. At first glance, it looked no different from the ordinary stones in the Red Cloud world, but at this moment, there were many principal's masters gathered there. Most of them were sitting cross-legged under the bloodstone and meditating. .bg container 632764337b6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important. Jian Wushuang soon arrived in front of the bloodstone. When he arrived, he finally saw the peculiarity of the bloodstone. It was made of the same material as the ordinary bloodstone. The difference was that there were 4 large golden words in the middle of the sword stone. Feng Xiao Xiao Shi. Looking at the 4 golden words in the middle of the sword stone, an ancient and ethereal aura instantly came toward him. In an instant, even Jian Wushuang could not help being affected by the 4 golden words. His consciousness became empty and ethereal. What a terrifying concept. Even I can't help being affected? Jian Wushuang was startled awake instantly, but he took a deep breath. He stared at the 4 golden words on the sword stone. Each golden word contained a unique concept. As he focused his mind, the sword stone in front of Jian Wushuang suddenly changed. The 4 golden characters on the sword stone were no longer ordinary characters. They seemed to have come alive. The golden characters evolved in Jian Wushuang's mind, and in the blink of an eye, they turned into 4 astonishing sword skills. Jian Wushuang's eyes widened. He was completely stunned by the sword skills that were transformed from the 4 golden characters. They were too powerful and too terrifying. The sword skills alone brought a sense of terror to Jian Wushuang. Without a doubt, any one of these 4 sword skills could be said to be earth-shaking. The person who left the 4 ancient characters on the sword stone must be an earth-shaking super expert. Jian Wushuang even felt that the person who had left the 4 characters must be a supreme expert. Only the words left by experts above the supreme expert could evolve into such terrifying swordsmanship. No wonder this bloodstone is called the Sword Stone. No wonder so many principles masters came to this sword stone to meditate. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. He knew that these principles masters must be experts who were good at sword principle. They had some attainments in sword principle, but none of them had comprehended the universe origin of sword principle. Without comprehending the universe origin of sword principle, even if they came to the sword stone, they would not be able to feel the existence of the 4 sword skills. They could feel very little. But even a few things, such as some simple concepts, were enough for the principles masters to remain silent for a long time. But Jian Wushuang was different. He had stepped into the threshold of the universe origin of sword principle, especially after comprehending the heaven suppression tablet for 5,000 years. He had made great progress in sword principle. Now, he could see the 4 ancient golden characters in front of the sword stone, but he could see the complete 4 sword skills derived from these 4 characters. Any one of these 4 sword skills was earth-shaking. It was definitely a great opportunity for Jian Wushuang. 3 of these 4 sword skills are offensive sword skills, but the other one seems to be defensive body protection sword skill. Jian Wushuang's expression changed. He carefully felt the 4 sword skills he saw. Among the 4 sword skills, 3 were mainly offensive. Some were extremely powerful, stronger than the previous one. Some were as fast as ghosts, killing their opponents in an instant. However, these 3 sword skills were undoubtedly frontal sword skills. Only the last one, which was derived from the word 11, was a sword skill that gave Jian Wushuang the feeling that it was a natural sword skill in body protection. This made Jian Wushuang start to ponder. The 4 sword skills derived from the golden words on the sword stone are all profound and unfathomable. The red cloud world will be closed again after 10,000 years at most. In just 10,000 years, I still have to fight for the supreme treasure. It's impossible for me to comprehend all 4 sword skills at the same time. I can only choose one sword skill and concentrate on comprehending it. Since I can only choose one, I have to think carefully about which one to choose, Jian Wushuang murmured. If he had enough time, or if he could collect the sword stone and take it out of the red cloud world, he would not be in a hurry. He would spend his time comprehending 4 sword skills at the same time. Unfortunately, when he came to the sword stone, he saw that it was completely integrated with the red cloud world. He could not move or collect the sword stone. If he directly divided the sword stone into 2 and took away the part containing the 4 golden characters, it would not work either. Because Jian Wushuang found that the 4 golden characters and the sword stone had been completely integrated. If the sword stone was damaged, the 4 golden characters' artistic conception would also be greatly affected. If the sword stone was cut into 2, the essence realm contained in the 4 golden words would disappear completely. Naturally, Jian Wushuang would not be able to sense the existence of sword skills from the 4 golden words. He had no choice but to stay here like the principles masters and quietly meditate. Therefore, he could only choose one of the 4 sword skills to meditate, so that he could make greater progress. As for which of the 4 sword skills to choose, Jian Wushuang hesitated for a moment and then made a decision. 3 of the 4 sword skills are offensive sword skills, but there is only one defensive sword skill. Obviously, defensive sword skills are much more difficult than offensive sword skills. Jian Wushuang understood that defensive sword skills were indeed much rarer than ordinary offensive sword skills. Chapter 3723. Comprehension. In addition, I'm most skilled in offensive swordsmanship. As for defensive swordsmanship, although I've created a sword technique, that sword technique isn't perfect, and its level is very low. I can't use it at all. If I were to encounter a slightly stronger ruler, it would probably be able to easily defeat my defensive swordsmanship. Now that I have such a good opportunity in front of me, I can't miss it. I'll meditate on this defensive sword skill and then perfect the defensive sword skill I created. Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. He had made up his mind. Jian Wushuang immediately found a front seat under the sword stone and sat down cross-legged. Then he closed his eyes and began meditating. He was meditating on the word Shi in the 4 golden characters on the sword stone. As for the principal's masters, they had already sensed it when Jian Wushuang arrived, but they did not panic. After all, the opportunity in the sword stone was not the fight for the supreme treasures that had been born before. Only one person could get the supreme treasures, so the fight was naturally more intense. However, the opportunity in the sword stone could be obtained as long as one came here, because no one could take it. Therefore, no one would attack anyone who came here as long as it did not interfere with their comprehension or if someone tried to destroy the sword stone. Everyone would just have to rely on their own abilities. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important everything in front of the sword stone appeared very peaceful. Because the sword stone had just been born not long ago, not many people knew about it at first. Jian Wushuang also learned about the existence of the sword stone from the Blood Saber Emperor, but Daoist Shen God did not send a message to him. However, as time passed, more and more people knew about it. Naturally, more and more Principal's Masters came to the Sword Stone to meditate. The number of Principal's Masters in this star field was frightening, and there were many experts who were good at Sword Principal among the Principal's Masters. Now in the third continent, the number of Principal's Masters who came to the Sword Stone was probably only a small part of the total number of Principal's Masters who were good at Sword Principal in the star field, but there were hundreds of them. Hundreds of people were meditating under the Sword Stone at the same time, so it was inevitable that some people would fight over it because of the distance between them and the Sword Stone. Those Principal's Masters who wanted to meditate under the Sword Stone naturally wanted to find a place closer to the Sword Stone. However, no matter how much they fought for a better place to meditate, no one would come to disturb Jian Wushuang's meditation. He sat cross-legged under the sword stone and was the closest to the sword stone, but no one dared to come forward and swap places with him. Endless and endless. This concept is like the life and death knot of the reincarnation principles, but I can feel that the rules contained in this sword skill are far more than just the reincarnation principles. There are 7 or 8 principles of the earth principles, the water principles, the light principles, and the dark principles. Jian Wushuang was completely immersed in the comprehension of the body-protecting sword skill. As he comprehended, he became more and more shocked. He was shocked by the strength of the expert who had left the 4 sword skills. He had left a word casually, and the derived sword skill contained 7 or 8 principles at the same time, and they were all perfectly integrated. Moreover, this was only one sword skill. The other 3 sword skills contained all kinds of principles, and they were all integrated. In other words, the expert had grasped and fused at least a dozen principles. What did this mean? Perhaps that expert had comprehended the universe origin and had a very high understanding of the universe origin, so he directly understood many of the principles. But for me, the principles contained in this sword skill can be ignored. What I want to comprehend and understand is the essence of this body protection sword skill, or even master this essence, and then perfect my move, Earth Guard, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. Earth Guard was the name of the protective sword skill that Jian Wushuang had comprehended in front of the Heaven Suppression Tablet for 5,000 years and combined with the Earth principles. This sword skill was still in its infancy and was far from being perfect. Moreover, his comprehension of the Earth principles was not very high. However, Jian Wushuang now felt that as long as he could comprehend some of the endless essence contained in this sword skill and integrate it into his sword skill, the power of his Earth Guard would be much stronger. Jian Wushuang had come into contact with and comprehended the endless essence. However, his understanding of this essence was not very high. At least, he was far inferior to the supreme expert who had left 4 ancient words on the sword stone. He could only continue to comprehend and improve it. In the Red Cloud world, the crazy competition continued. One universe supreme treasure after another was born in the various continents of the Red Cloud world. Countless experts killed crazily for it, and naturally, countless experts died because of it. But for now, it had nothing to do with Jian Wushuang. He stayed under the sword stone and was completely immersed in the comprehension of the body-protecting sword skill. He had already sent a message to the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, Temporal Temple Master, and the others. Unless there was something urgent or a supreme treasure was born, he should not come and disturb him. Right now, all he could think about was his Earthguard move. In a flash, Jian Wushuang had been studying under the sword stone for 400 years. During these 400 years, many major events had happened in the Red Cloud world. The biggest one was the birth of a supreme true treasure on the first continent. A supreme true treasure was enough to make many rulers fight for it. In the 10,000 years in the Red Cloud world, there would definitely be more than one supreme true treasure. Everyone knew this, however, when the first supreme true treasure emerged, it still caused a bloody storm. Countless great beings participated in the battle. Even rulers were present. There were 3 of them, and the 3 rulers fought madly. In the end, the most powerful senior ruler took the supreme true treasure. He left. Although the ruler did not die in the battle, there were nearly 100 principals masters who died. The scene was terrifying. However, because the first continent was a certain distance away from Jian Wushuang's third continent, and even further away from the Temporal Temple Master and the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, the 3 of them did not have time to participate in the battle. Jian Wushuang had also been meditating under the sword stone. During these 400 years of meditation, Jian Wushuang's progress had naturally been tremendous. Chapter 37-24. Asking for help? The swordsmanship in the sword stone is really incredible. I have carefully studied it for 400 years, and I have made great progress in the principles of the earth. I have almost completely mastered the principles of the earth. As for the swordsmanship, I have been perfecting the move of the Earthguard over the past 400 years. It's much more powerful than before. If I use this move now, I'm afraid that ordinary rulers would not be able to break it. As for the advanced rulers, it's hard to say whether they can break it. However, this move of mine still has a lot of room for improvement. I can continue to improve it. Jian Wushuang was extremely excited. After 400 years of meditation, he was looking forward to the Earthguard move that he had created. He was very curious about the extent of the Earthguard move if he continued to meditate and perfect it. But at this moment, Blood Sword Master, help! Come and save me! An anxious cry for help came from one of the tokens in Jian Wushuang's interspatial ring. Jian Wushuang's expression changed, and he took out the token. Master Gucci, what's going on? Jian Wushuang asked immediately. It's Pupil Master. On the other end of the token, Master Gucci said immediately, just now, I obtained a top-tier domain-type true treasure in a fight. I've already obtained it, and the fight has already ended. However, just as I was about to leave, Pupil Master rushed over and asked me to hand over the top-tier domain-type true treasure. If I refuse, Pupil Master will attack me directly. I can only rely on my trump card, the Fire Cleansing Formation, to survive. With Pupil Master's strength, it's only a matter of time before he breaks my formation. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important I understand. Jian Wushuang's expression became serious. Star Palace and the 3 Freedom Alliances had sent many experts into the Red Cloud world this time. These experts were scattered among the 7 continents. Jian Wushuang, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance Master, and the Temporal Temple Master were on the 3rd continent, the 4th continent, and the 6th continent respectively. Therefore, they had long given orders, if there was anything urgent in the 3 continents, they could directly send a message to them. Now that Master Gucci had encountered Pupil Master, he was in deep danger. Naturally, he would send a message to him at once. Master Gucci is one of the top experts in Star Palace. He has the strength of the pinnacle of the 6 realms and is very strong in life preservation. Once his strongest trump card, the Fire Purging Formation, was used, no one among the Principal's Masters could break it except for me and Blood Saber Emperor. But now, he has encountered Pupil Master. Jian Wushuang narrowed his eyes. Pupil Master was a genuine ruler-level expert and had been famous for a long time. Although he was only a primary ruler, his strength was extremely strong among primary rulers. No wonder Master Gucci had asked for help. In fact, under normal circumstances, a great ruler-level great being would not lower himself to deal with a principal's master, unless there was a great benefit, or the other party had a treasure that made him envious. However, what Master Gucci had obtained was only a top-tier domain-type true treasure. Even if it was a top-tier domain-type true treasure, it was at most equivalent to a pinnacle true treasure. For such a true treasure, most rulers would not choose to lower their status to deal with principal's masters. However, this pupil master was definitely one of the very few rulers in this star field who did not care about their status at all. Pupil master was notorious within this star field. He was a great being who traveled alone to begin with. He had no ties to anyone, and he did not even have a single disciple. Therefore, he had never cared about what others thought of him. He only knew how to do things his own way. Naturally, he had never cared about his own status. As long as it was a treasure that he fancied, he would not mind fighting for it, let alone a principal's master or even an immortal saint. For example, Master Gucci might not be interested in obtaining a top-tier domain-type supreme treasure, but such a treasure was very valuable. Even a ruler would not ignore it, therefore, he made his move right away. Master Gucci, pass me your current position, Jian Wushuang said. Master Gucci immediately passed his current position to Jian Wushuang. After comparing it on the star map, Jian Wushuang immediately made a decision. I'm more than 50 million miles away from your position. It'll take me some time to arrive at such a long distance even if I travel at full speed. Master Gucci, try your best to use your fire cleansing formation to stall this pupil master until I arrive. However, if your fire cleansing formation reaches its limit before I arrive and can't hold on any longer, you can give him the top-tier domain-type true treasure. It's just a top-tier domain-type true treasure. If you can't, then give it up. Don't lose your life over it, Jian Wushuang warned. Yes, I'll try my best to stall him. Master Gucci gritted his teeth. Jian Wushuang did not waste any more time. He immediately rushed toward Master Gucci's position. Jian Wushuang pushed his speed to the maximum along the way. He had no choice. This time, he was not going to fight for a true treasure, but to save his life to him, a top-tier domain-type true treasure was nothing, but Master Gucci's life was different. Although Star Palace had many great beings under its command, there were not many principal's masters who had reached the 6th level or above. As for those who had reached the pinnacle of the 6th realm, including Master Gucci, there were only 2 of them. Naturally, these 2 pinnacle of the 6th realm were very important to Star Palace. If one of them died, it would be a great loss to Star Palace. On the 3rd continent, in a vast blood-colored void. Boom, boom, boom. Endless pure white flames burned wildly, covering the surrounding void that was over 10,000 meters wide. This void that was over 10,000 meters wide had completely sunk into a sea of pure white flames, and in the middle of the sea of flames, bang, bang, bang. Numerous intense explosions rang out continuously, shaking the world. Ha ha. This lord has underestimated an ant like you. This fire formation of yours is quite unique. Even this lord would find it difficult to break it in a short period of time. A cold laughter reverberated in the world. A towering blood-colored figure stood in the middle of the pure white sea of fire. This blood-colored figure was surrounded by a dense blood cloud. The blood cloud rolled and an endless killing aura spread out. This blood-colored figure was Pupil Master. Not far in front of Pupil Master, in the center of this pure white sea of fire, Master Gucci gritted his teeth, and his expression was quite unsightly. Pupil Master, I've already sent a message to my Lord Palace Master. Lord Palace Master and Temporal Temple Master will be here soon. If you're smart, then leave quickly. Otherwise, when my Lord Palace Master arrives. Master Gucci shouted in a low voice. Chapter 3725. Cleansing Fire Formation. Ha ha, your Palace Master? Pupil Master looked at Master Gucci mockingly. Kid, don't think that I don't know anything about this star field just because I've been traveling alone. I know very well that your Palace Master didn't come to the Red Cloud world this time. As for the Temporal Temple Master you mentioned, he's on the 4th continent now. How could he make it here in time? It's impossible for them to get here. Even if they do, what can they do? I, Master, have ruled this universe for so many years. I'm not even afraid of a senior ruler. Why would I care about Star Palace Palace Master and Temporal Temple Master? What a joke. Kid, I advise you to stop struggling and give me that top-tier domain-type true treasure and the array you're using right now. I might spare your life. Otherwise, when I break this array, you'll die. Pupil Master's words made Master Gucci's face turn extremely ugly. He had not expected Pupil Master to be so shameless. Not only had he attacked him, a Principal's Master, for a top-tier domain-type true treasure, but now that he had seen the cleansing fire array he had used, he even wanted him to hand over the array as well. This cleansing fire array was his strongest trump card, and it was also his strongest reliance. He had gotten this array many years ago when he was adventuring in Quicksand Demon Realm. He had been lucky enough to get it. Over the years, this array had saved his life more than once. To him, this array was far more important than that top-tier domain-type true treasure. Now, Pupil Master wanted him to hand over this array as well? How was that possible? The BG container 632764337B6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important he would rather die than hand it over. Now, he could only hope that Bloodsword Master would arrive earlier. Although he did not know Jian Wushuang's true strength, judging from his position in Star Palace and the attitudes of Daoist Shen God, Temporal Temple Master, and the others toward him, Jian Wushuang was not much weaker than the ruler. The difference was not too great. As long as he arrived and joined hands with him, he should be able to stop Pupil Master. Humph, you're so stubborn. Since you don't want to hand it over, then die. Pupil Master's voice was cold, and the terrifying blood cloud rolled. It rushed toward the pure white sea of fire crazily with a shocking power. Master Gucci could only rely on the magic formation to resist it. However, as Pupil Master's true strength erupted, his pressure naturally increased sharply. As time passed, it became more and more difficult for him to resist it. The fire-cleansing magic formation gradually reached its limit. Damn it! Why isn't Bloodsword Master here yet? Master Gucci's face was completely distorted. He could already sense that the fire-cleansing formation could not hold on any longer. He could only grit his teeth and continue to resist, praying that Jian Wushuang would arrive earlier. However, they were 50 million miles away. Even if Jian Wushuang rushed at full speed, it would still take some time. There were many Principal's Masters gathered in the void around the pure white fire sea. Many of them had participated in the fight for the top-tier domain-type true treasure. Some of them had sensed the huge commotion and rushed over. These Principal's Masters stood in the void around the fire-cleansing formation and watched the scene from afar. When they saw that Master Gucci had been pushed to his limit by Pupil Master, many Principal's Masters could not help but sigh. This Master Gucci is already extremely powerful, and he has a life-saving trump card like the cleansing fire formation. Logically speaking, he should be able to do as he pleases as long as he doesn't run into a ruler. I didn't expect his luck to be so bad. He just so happened to run into a ruler, and it was this Pupil Master who didn't care about his status at all. This Master Gucci is really unlucky. We all know Master's temper and personality. Anyone who is targeted by him will have a headache. There's nothing we can do. Unless this Master Gucci hands over that top-tier domain-type true treasure and his purifying fire array, he'll probably die. That top-tier domain-type true treasure is still fine. Anyway, he just got it. Just take it as bad luck and hand it over. The problem is that Master is still interested in his purifying fire array. Everyone knows that this purifying fire array is Master Gucci's strongest trump card. Why would Master Gucci hand over such a treasure? You're right. If it were me, I wouldn't hand it over either. Many Principal's Masters were discussing among themselves. Most of them sympathized with Master Gucci and felt that he was unlucky. As time passed, the spectators could clearly feel that Master Gucci could not hold on any longer. At this moment, Jian Wushuang was still more than 20 million miles away from the void. It would take him a while to arrive. Ha ha, boy, you can't hold on any longer, can you? Wanton laughter echoed in the world. Rumble. The world shook and endless power burst out, shattering the pure white sea of fire that covered tens of thousands of miles on the battlefield. The sea of fire finally could not withstand the impact of the terrifying power and dissipated directly. The fire-cleansing formation of Master Gucci was directly destroyed by I Master. Without the obstruction of the fire-cleansing formation, with Master Gucci's strength, he would not be able to face I Master head-on. When they realized this, many people around them secretly sighed. Even Master Gucci himself let out a miserable laugh, a trace of despair in his eyes. However, just as I Master was about to attack and directly kill Master Gucci, a human figure had unknowingly appeared around this area of the void. It's quite lively here. A low chuckle with a hint of playfulness sounded in the area. This low chuckle attracted the attention of everyone present. Even Pupil Master, who was about to make a move, stopped what he was doing and looked at the person. When he saw the person's appearance clearly, Pupil Master could not help but frown. The person was a strange old man with a scarlet cape. The old man had a thin face and a hooked nose. His eyes were very small, like those of a mouse. He even narrowed his eyes slightly, giving off an extremely shrewd look. The teasing smile on the old man's lips made his entire person appear a little more evil. The aura on this strange old man's body was actually not very strong. It was very obvious that he was only at the level of a Principal's Master. However, they were both Principal's Masters. Pupil Master did not put that Master Gucci in his eyes at all. However, when he saw this strange old man, Pupil Master frowned slightly. Dark Bone. It's Elder Dark Bone. Among the Principal's Masters in this star field, Elder Dark Bone is said to have the most skills and the strongest survival ability. It's him. The Principal's Masters around the battlefield were all shocked when they saw this weird old man. Chapter 3726. The troublesome Elder Dark Bone. Elder Dark Bone was too famous in this star field. In the eyes of many experts in this star field, if one wanted to choose the strongest Principal's Master, it would undoubtedly be decided between the Blood Sword Master and the Blood Saber Emperor. However, if they were talking about the most troublesome Principal's Master, 99 of the people would immediately think of this Elder Dark Bone. This Elder Dark Bone was famous for his many tricks and was extremely difficult to deal with. He had faced many ruler-level experts on more than one occasion. He had even faced high-level rulers directly. The other party had used all of his tricks, but he was still unable to do anything to him. He had even dared to scheme against rulers in this star field. Because of this, he had offended quite a few rulers, but so far, he was still alive and well. Such a person, even though he was only a ruler of principles, even the current Pupil Master did not dare to directly ignore his existence. Dark Bone, what are you doing here? The Pupil Master was not in a hurry to act. Instead, he turned his head and asked. This old man just happened to pass by and happened to see you, a high and mighty ruler, acting against a Principal's Master without any regard for your status. That's why I came here to take a look. Elder Dark Bone laughed. Just to take a look. Pupil Master's voice was low. Originally, I just wanted to take a look. However, after seeing that the person you are dealing with is this Master Gucci, this old man changed his mind. Elder Dark Bone said. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important, what do you mean? Pupil Master's expression sank. This Master Gucci has nothing to do with me. However, my relationship with the people from Star Palace is quite good, so I can only let you give me some face, Pupil Master. Elder Dark Bone said with a faint smile. Once these words were said, the surrounding people were all stunned. Even Master Gucci himself was incomparably shocked. Elder Dark Bone said these words, clearly intending to interfere in this matter. Dark Bone, you want me to give you face? HMPH, you are only a mere Principal's Master. What right do you have to ask me to give you face? Pupil Master shouted. It's fine. Since you don't want to give me face, Pupil Master, then let's see if you have the ability to kill Master Gucci right under my nose. Elder Dark Bone laughed casually, however, this laughter contained absolute confidence. Pupil Master narrowed his eyes slightly. The entire world fell silent. Suddenly, shoo! A stream of light flashed, and Pupil Master attacked with lightning speed. A terrifying ruler-level aura instantly covered and pressed down on Master Gucci's body, and his speed reached its peak. Clearly, he was planning to use his fastest speed to kill Master Gucci before Elder Darkbone reached his limit. However, the moment Pupil took the initiative to move, Elder Darkbone, who was standing at the edge, suddenly moved. He simply moved, but it felt as if he had teleported directly across the battlefield. Before Pupil Master appeared in front of Master Gucci, Elder Darkbone's figure blocked in front of him. "You're courting death." Pupil Master's face was cold, and the killing intent in his eyes rose sharply. He held a long red rod in one hand. This long rod emitted an incomparably dense destructive aura as it smashed toward Elder Darkbone in a mighty manner. Elder Darkbone was not afraid at all when he saw this. He waved his hand, and a cold blade light slashed out directly as if it was splitting the heavens and earth apart. Bang! The two collided head-on. Pupil Master was a mighty ruler-level expert after all, and in terms of power, he was far stronger than Elder Darkbone. This collision had shattered that blade light at the first instant. Even Elder Darkbone's entire body was forced back a few steps. TSK, as expected of a ruler. Elder Darkbone stood up steadily, but his face was still smiling. His aura did not weaken at all. "Darkbone, since you intend to get involved in this mess, then you should follow Master Gucci and die together." Pupil Master's killing intent soared. "You still want to kill me?" Elder Darkbone chuckled. "It's not that I'm arrogant, but in this star field, aside from those few apex rulers, no one else can kill me." As soon as he finished speaking, Elder Darkbone's body suddenly flashed, and in an instant, hundreds of thousands of figures of Elder Darkbone appeared in the void. These hundreds of thousands of old monsters all had the same appearance, demeanor, and aura. The many Principles Masters who were watching the battle immediately used their soul energy to cover the area, but none of them could tell which one was Elder Darkbone's true body. "An illusion? Humph, it's just a small trick." Pupil Master snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Immediately, majestic godly power condensed in front of him, turning into godly power spikes that instantly shot out in all directions. These godly power spikes were densely packed and passed through hundreds and thousands of Elder Darkbone's figures, but they didn't cause any ripples at all. "What?" Pupil Master's face changed. Is his real body not among these figures? Is he hiding with the escape art? No, if he really used the escape art, he shouldn't be able to hide from my soul power. Pupil Master's eyes focused. The escape art could hide from the soul power of a cultivator. Jian Wushuang had practiced the shadowless evasive skill. However, this kind of evasive skill could be easily seen by an ordinary expert, but it could be seen by a real expert. As for Pupil Master, he was a ruler-level expert. If a Principles Master really used the evasive skill, it would be impossible to hide from him. In this case, it meant that Elder Darkbone's original body was indeed among the hundreds of figures, but he could not find it and could not attack it. "Xianxia, even if I can't find your true body, my target isn't you in the first place." Pupil Master snorted softly, following which, his body swayed, choosing to ignore Elder Darkbone and continue to charge toward Master Gucci. However, just as his body moved, "I already said that it's impossible for you to kill Master Gucci under my nose. You just won't believe it." A mocking voice suddenly sounded beside Pupil Master, and the figure of Elder Darkbone, who was the closest to Pupil Master, directly waved the battle saber in his hand. This saber immediately slashed out a streak of light in the air, directly flashing toward Pupil Master's head. Pupil Master's figure had no choice but to immediately retreat, returning to where he had been standing before. Once again looking at the hundreds and thousands of figures of Elder Darkbone, Pupil Master's expression had already become extremely unsightly. Although Elder Darkbone had only revealed a portion of his techniques during the short exchange of blows, this portion of his techniques had already caused Pupil Master to feel that it was extremely difficult to deal with. Just like what Elder Darkbone had said, if it was not for his consent, it was utterly impossible for Pupil Master to kill Master Gucci right under his nose. Chapter 3727. Bloodsword Master arrives. Elder Darkbone, are you really going to go against me? Pupil Master shouted sternly. Go against you? Elder Darkbone deliberately pondered for a moment before saying, actually, I don't have to stop you. HM? Pupil Master's expression changed. Not far behind Elder Darkbone, Master Gucci was shocked. Pupil Master, you may not know this, but I have been in Red Cloud World for some time, and my luck is not very good. But so far, I have only obtained 2 true treasures, and they are only elementary true treasures. The gains are really not that great, said Elder Darkbone. Pupil Master's pupils constricted. He glanced at Elder Darkbone and said in a low voice, "Just tell me what you want. It's simple. A top-tier true treasure armor." "I won't care about it anymore," said Elder Darkbone with a smile. His words immediately caused a commotion in the surrounding void space. This Elder Darkbone is really daring. He dares to directly threaten Pupil Master and ask for a true treasure from Pupil Master. Among Principal's Masters, I'm afraid only he, Elder Darkbone, dares to do that. That's normal. Elder Darkbone is famous for his many tricks. He has strong life-saving abilities, and he is extremely difficult to deal with. If he doesn't want to give way, Pupil Master really can't do anything to that idiotic master. Besides, Elder Darkbone has lived for so many years, and he has offended many rulers. He doesn't even care about a senior ruler, so why would he care about a mere Pupil Master? I have to say, a Principal's Master dared to ask a ruler for a true treasure so directly. This Elder Darkbone is indeed admirable. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647. Important. Most of the Principal's Masters around felt a trace of excitement and admiration in their hearts. It must be known that Principal's Masters and rulers were a huge watershed. Rulers were high and mighty, and Principal's Masters were nothing more than ants in front of rulers. The Principal's Masters who had been adventuring in this star field had long been used to rulers being high and mighty. However, when they saw a ruler being defeated by a Principal's Master, they naturally felt relieved and comfortable. Pupil Master's face was extremely gloomy. Sometimes, he didn't care about his status or face, but a ruler was threatened by a Principal's Master and asked for a true treasure in front of so many people, he still felt embarrassed. He stared at Elder Darkbone, but he hesitated. It's not about face, but benefits. It's just a top-tier true treasure armor. It's not that valuable. The top-tier domain-type true treasure that Ancient Kai Master just got is comparable to 2 or 3 top-tier true treasure armor, and his purifying fire array is quite mysterious. It's probably more valuable than a normal pinnacle true treasure. If I kill him, I'll get more benefits than a top-tier true treasure armor. The most important thing is that Master Gucci has something that my treasure craves. Pupil Master narrowed his eyes and glanced at Master Gucci from the corner of his eye. Everyone thought that he did not care about his status to kill Master Gucci just to get the top-tier domain-type true treasure that Master Gucci had just obtained and the cleansing fire array. But in reality, it was not that simple. Pupil Master had an extremely special treasure on him, and Master Gucci had something that special treasure desired, and that was the most important reason. No matter what, I have to kill Master Gucci and get his universe ring. As for a top-tier true treasure armor, it's nothing. Pupil Master had made up his mind. He waved his hand, and a silver armor that gave off the aura of a top-tier true treasure flew toward Elder Darkbone. Elder Darkbone reached out and took it. After sensing it with his consciousness, he nodded slightly. As expected of a ruler. He has an extraordinary family background. He's very generous. Darkbone, I've given you the top-tier true treasure armor. Now, can you move aside? Pupil Master asked in a low voice. No rush. Elder Darkbone still shook his head. Darkbone. Pupil Master was furious. Haha, don't be so angry yet. Elder Darkbone smiled. Since you've already given me the top-tier true treasure armor, then I'll keep my promise and stay out of this matter. I'm not in a hurry to leave. I just want to ask you, Pupil Master. You don't care about your identity, and you even gave me a top-tier true treasure armor to kill Master Gucci. Is it really for the top-tier domain-type true treasure in Master Gucci's hands? Humph, said Pupil Master, a top-tier domain-type true treasure armor isn't worth it. However, the array that Master Gucci used to block me is quite special. I'm interested in it. Oh, is that all? Darkbone looked at Pupil Master strangely. What do you think? Pupil Master tried to suppress the anger in his heart. Elder Darkbone raised his eyebrows and did not think any further. Actually, there was not much to think about. Pupil Master was famous in this star field for not caring about his status. It was normal for him to set his eyes on Master Gucci and want the treasures in Master Gucci's hands. It was not suspicious at all. If that's the case, then this old man will step aside now. You can do whatever you want from now on. Although this old man will step aside, if you still can't kill Master Gucci later, then you can't blame this old man. Elder Darkbone said playfully. As long as you're not in the way, if this seat wants to kill Master Gucci, then no one can stop it. Pupil Master snorted. Is that so? That might not be the case. Elder Darkbone grinned. His soul power had already sensed the arrival of a person. Master Gucci, who was behind Elder Darkbone, had also received the message. His face also revealed a trace of joy. In the void not far away, a figure had appeared and was rushing toward the void at the fastest speed. Elder Darkbone had just stepped aside, and before Pupil Master could continue to attack Master Gucci, the figure had already arrived at the center of the void and stood beside Master Gucci. Master Gucci, are you okay? Jian Wushuang asked. I'm fine. Fortunately, Master Netherbone acted in time and stopped Pupil Master for a while. Otherwise, I would have died and would not have waited for you to arrive. Blood Sword Master, Master Gucci said. Jian Wushuang glanced around and saw Elder Darkbone. He immediately smiled and said, Thank you, Elder Darkbone. Don't mention it. I just wanted to get a top-tier supreme treasure armor, not because of you or the people from your star palace, Elder Darkbone said with a smile. When the people around saw Jian Wushuang's arrival, they became excited again. Chapter 3728. Overbearing Blood Sword Master is the Blood Sword Master of Star Palace. Blood Sword Master is the most powerful Principles Master in our star field. I've heard that he also roams the third continent. Now it seems that he must have received a request from Master Gucci to come here. Blood Sword Master is here. This is going to be a good show. However, can Blood Sword Master deal with Pupil Master with his strength alone? It's hard to say. Although Blood Sword Master is very strong and invincible among Principles Masters, he doesn't have the endless means like Elder Darkbone. I think it's very difficult for him to face a ruler head-on. Many Principles Masters who were watching the battle discussed among themselves. Their impression of Jian Wushuang remained the same as more than 10,000 years ago, when he defeated 5 Principles Masters head-on in Devil Smoke Valley. In that battle, although Jian Wushuang showed his invincible strength as a Principles Master, he was still on a different level compared to a ruler. Therefore, most people were full of doubts about whether Jian Wushuang could deal with Pupil Master. Elder Darkbone, let's catch up later. Let me get rid of Pupil Master first, Jian Wushuang said with a bright smile. Okay, but Pupil Master is not weak. You have to be careful, Elder Darkbone said with a faint smile. However, Jian Wushuang looked extremely relaxed. As for the Pupil Master, when he saw Jian Wushuang, he was stunned for some reason. .bg container 632764337b6 display, flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important yes, he was stunned. He was not surprised by Jian Wushuang's sudden arrival, but because of the special treasure on his body. For some reason, when Jian Wushuang arrived and appeared in the void in front of him, the special treasure on his body went completely crazy. It was an unprecedented excitement and desire. It was like a wolf that had been hungry for 10 days and 10 nights suddenly seeing a sheep. The treasure on his body was so hot and crazy at this moment. What's going on? What on earth is on Blood Sword Master's body that makes my treasure so excited and crazy? It's crazy. I've never seen it so excited and eager since I got it. Pupil Master's eyes instantly became extremely hot. However, he quickly covered up the heat. In the void, Elder Darkbone had moved to the side, leaving only Jian Wushuang, Master Gucci, and Pupil Master standing there. Jian Wushuang and Master Gucci naturally stood together. Blood Sword Master, this Pupil Master is indeed very powerful. He is definitely one of the strongest among the primary rulers. He has broken my strongest trump card, the Fire Purging formation. I won't be able to use it again in a short time. With his speed, it will be difficult for us to escape from him. So, I'm afraid you and I have to work together to find a way to deal with him, Master Gucci said. Without the fire cleansing formation, Master Gucci would not be able to deal with Pupil Master. However, he knew that Blood Sword Master was very strong, so there was still a chance for them to survive if they worked together. However, after hearing his words, Jian Wushuang waved his hand and said, Master Gucci, you can leave. Leave Pupil Master to me. Leave him to you alone? Master Gucci was stunned. I'm enough. Jian Wushuang was very confident. Leave him alone. Master Gucci's eyes narrowed slightly. He glanced at Jian Wushuang and did not think much about it. Instead, he rushed toward the void behind him. Seeing this, Pupil Master had no intention of stopping him. After Jian Wushuang came to this void, Pupil Master only had Jian Wushuang in his eyes. He did not care about Master Gucci anymore. Even if Master Gucci turned around and ran away, he would not chase after him anymore. For him, Jian Wushuang was now his first target. Blood Sword Master, the most powerful Principles Master in this star field. Pupil Master grinned. He glanced at Master Gucci behind him, and the smile on his face grew wider. It seems that you plan to deal with me alone. Humph, you're really arrogant. Arrogant? Jian Wushuang only smiled faintly, but there was a trace of excitement in his heart. It was not his fault that he was excited. After all, since he broke through to the Principles Master level and his Strength Sword, he had never really fought a fair fight with a ruler-level expert. Although he had fought with the Heaven Rock Ruler, fought with the Heaven Ancestor, and even killed 3 rulers in the Divine Beginning realm. However, he had only passively blocked 3 attacks from the Heaven Rock Ruler. The Heaven Ancestor had only sparred with him so that he had a basic understanding of his strength. As for the 3 rulers killed in the Divine Beginning realm, they were restricted by the Heavenly Tao and could not display their strength. Therefore, he had never fought with a ruler who could unleash his full strength. Until now, Pupil Master was standing in front of him. Pupil Master, in this star field, he is a primary ruler who stands at the top. Information about Pupil Master flashed in Jian Wushuang's mind. Pupil Master was not only powerful, but he also had many treasures. It was said that not only did he have a supreme true treasure magic weapon, but he also had a supreme true treasure armor. Moreover, his life-saving ability was not weak. Even if he encountered an advanced ruler, he would not be afraid. Such a powerful ruler was a suitable opponent for Jian Wushuang. This is the first time I have fought a ruler-level expert in the universe battlefield, and there are so many people watching. I'll use Pupil Master to show my power in this battle. Jian Wushuang's eyes flashed with a sharp light, and he immediately shouted, Pupil Master, hand over the 3 supreme treasures, and we'll forget about today's matter. Otherwise, my blood sword and the rulers of Star Palace will chase you to the ends of the earth. This shout, which contained a magnificent power, suddenly exploded in the world. The void became quiet. Silence. Everyone was silent. They stared at Jian Wushuang with wide eyes. They had just said that Blood Sword Master and Master Gucci would join hands to stop Pupil Master. But who would have thought that Blood Sword Master would demand Pupil Master to hand over 3 supreme true treasures? He must not have figured out the situation on the battlefield yet, right? Even Master Gucci was at a loss at this moment. Kid, how dare you? Pupil Master was so angry that he started to laugh, and his entire face was contorted. He did not say any more nonsense, and he immediately made his move. Chapter 3729. Battle Pupil Master Rumble. The mighty divine power of a ruler formed a huge prison, pressing down on Jian Wushuang from all directions. The divine power was like a prison. The divine power of a ruler was countless times stronger than that of a Principles Master. Under normal circumstances, a Principles Master would not be able to withstand the divine power of a ruler. Under the pressure of the majestic divine might, Pupil Master took a step forward and instantly crossed the void to arrive in front of Jian Wushuang. The red long staff in his hand brought with it an earth-shaking destructive aura as it smashed down angrily. The terrifying power contained in it caused spatial ripples to appear in the void of the red cloud world. These spatial ripples intersected and spread wildly in all directions. Clang! Jian Wushuang drew his sword. An extremely cold and terrifying sword essence instantly swept through the heaven and earth. The vast void fell into a freezing cold because the divine sword was unsheathed. The coldness was like a knife. Even though they were far away, it still scraped the faces of the principal's masters present. .bg container 632764337b6 display. Flex direction, column align items, center justify content, center Z index, 214-748-3647, important that sword. The eyes of everyone watching the battle instantly focused on the black divine sword in Jian Wushuang's hand that exuded a cold and terrifying aura. It was the Netherworld sword. The strongest universe supreme treasure. This blood sword master has a supreme treasure. There was an uproar in the surrounding void. Even among rulers, many did not have supreme treasures. However, Jian Wushuang, a principal's master, had a supreme treasure in his hand. No one had expected that. Even Pupil Master was extremely surprised when he saw the divine sword that Jian Wushuang took out. Although he was surprised, Pupil Master still did not put Jian Wushuang in his eyes. Humph, so what if you have the most powerful universe supreme treasure? You're still just an ant. Pupil Master's eyes flashed with a fierce light. The red long staff that he threw out trembled slightly, and its power instantly increased dramatically. I won't rest until I die. Jian Wushuang directly threw out his sword. A sword light filled with endless hatred, and hatred instantly went toward the red long staff. This sword light not only contained terrifying power, but it also contained a trace of sword principle universe origin, which instantly raised the power of sword arts to a whole new level. Clang! When the two collided head-on, an electric arc flashed and then disappeared. What? Pupil Master was shocked. From the sword light that Jian Wushuang displayed, he could feel an extremely strong power that was not weaker than his. Whoosh! Pupil Master immediately retreated, and Jian Wushuang also retreated. Humph! After he stabilized himself, Pupil Master's eyes turned cold again. He held the long staff in both hands, and his destructive aura burst out. The blood cloud around him also rose to the maximum. His aura was much stronger than before. His body swayed, and he charged toward Jian Wushuang again. Jian Ruhong. Jian Wushuang held the sword in one hand and pointed it at Pupil Master. He did not intend to retreat at all. He faced the attack head-on. Clang! Clang! Bang! Heavy clashing sounds could be heard, and the sound of power colliding kept ringing out. In the center of the battlefield, two figures were frantically clashing, and terrifying power was wildly spreading out in all directions. The fierce battle between the two was clearly at a white-hot stage. The surrounding principal's masters who were watching the battle had long since been stunned. A battle between rulers. This is a battle between rulers. That Bloodsword Master is actually going to face a ruler head-on? How is this possible? Exclamations sounded in the surrounding void. Unlike Elder Darkbone, who relied on special methods to fight against each other, Jian Wushuang was fighting against Pupil Master head-on. A principal's master was fighting against a ruler and a very strong ruler. How could they be evenly matched? Ruler battle power. This Bloodsword Master already has ruler battle power. Everyone immediately understood this point. To be able to fight head-on with an extremely powerful ruler to such an extent, his strength must be at the ruler level. Hong! Another intense explosion sounded, and the two figures in the void finally separated. Blood Sword Master, I have underestimated you. I didn't expect that a mere principal's master like you would actually possess the battle prowess of a ruler. Pupil Master's eyes were already filled with blood threads, and there was a faint madness in them. But even so, you don't have the right to act so arrogantly in front of me. D. Pupil Master's killing intent soared to the skies. At the moment he moved, the large blood cloud around him condensed crazily, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a towering three-headed demon god. The three-headed demon god also held a red long staff in his hand, and as Pupil Master moved, he launched a powerful attack. It was the same staff skill, but when the three-headed demon god condensed it, its power was at least twice as strong as before. Is this your real strength? Jian Wushuang curled his lips slightly, not surprised at all. Pupil Master was able to make such a name for himself in this star field, so his strength was certainly not just that. Unfortunately, this strength is not enough. Jian Wushuang focused his eyes and immediately used his life divine power and heaven-cleaving skill. When these two secret skills were used at the same time, the power of Jian Wushuang's divine power instantly increased by 3 times. The divine power of 3 times the power of a primary ruler had barely reached the threshold of an advanced ruler. Kill. Jian Wushuang was not afraid at all. He relied on his secret skills to greatly increase his strength and once again fought against his opponent. The two once again engaged in a frenzied battle. Jian Wushuang fully displayed his understanding of the universe origin of sword principle. Each of his sword moves contained the universe origin of sword principle. His swordsmanship was extremely profound and powerful. Although Pupil Master's staff skill was also powerful, he did not comprehend the universe origin and was obviously inferior to Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship in the occult. As for the power, although he had used a secret skill and his power had greatly increased, he was at most on par with Jian Wushuang. The power was equal, but Jian Wushuang's swordsmanship had a great advantage. Therefore, Pupil Master was actually at a disadvantage in this fight. How could this be? Pupil Master, who was madly fighting with Jian Wushuang, was shocked and in disbelief. I've already used my strongest strength, but I still can't take him down. I'm even at a disadvantage? How is this possible? How could a mere Principles Master be so strong? Pupil Master was completely shocked by Jian Wushuang's strength. He was not the only one. The Principles Masters watching the battle were also stunned. Chapter 3730. Vomiting blood. No one had expected that Blood Sword Master, who was only a Principles Master, would not only be able to fight Pupil Master head-on, but he would also be able to gain the upper hand even if Pupil Master unleashed his full strength. Blood Sword Master could no longer have the battle strength of a ruler, but his battle strength had already surpassed most of the primary rulers, including Pupil Master, who was a top existence among the primary rulers. In terms of battle strength, he was clearly inferior to Blood Sword Master. Pupil Master, is this your strongest strength? Jian Wushuang stared at Pupil Master with a cold gaze. Humph, how dare you bully my star palace with such strength? Hand over 3 pinnacle true treasures honestly, or I'll teach you a lesson today. How dare you? Pupil Master was extremely shocked and angry. However, no matter how shocked and angry he was, the strength Jian Wushuang displayed was indeed slightly stronger than his. Suddenly, Pupil Master flashed a sharp light. He snorted and said, "Boy, I admit that I underestimated you and your Star Palace. I didn't expect a monster like you to appear in the Star Palace. You're just a Principles Master, but your battle strength is stronger than that of an ordinary ruler. However, you want me to lower my head and hand over 3 pinnacle true treasures? Dream on. So what if you are slightly stronger than me? What can you do to me?" Pupil Master was fearless. He admitted that Jian Wushuang was slightly stronger than him. However, he was only slightly stronger. He could not even suppress him, so how could he be afraid? BG Container 632764437B6 Display, Flex Direction, Column Align Items, Center Justify Content, Center Z Index, 214-748-3647. Important you won't lower your head, right? Then I'll beat you until you lower your head. Jian Wushuang's voice was cold. He took a step forward, and a terrifying power suddenly condensed on the Netherworld Divine Sword in his hand. Whoosh! He slashed out, and the void turned into chaos. There was no sound of explosion or air explosion. At this moment, Jian Wushuang's sword did not seem to have any terrifying power. However, when the divine sword fell, a cold sword light mercilessly cut through space, mercilessly tearing apart everything in front of it, and mercilessly slashing toward Pupil Master. Sword skill, fall to the Netherworld. With one sword move, it was the blue fall to the Netherworld. This sword move was the astonishing sword skill that had forcefully broken through the sword skill system of Di Shisan when they were fighting. Not only was this swordsmanship extremely powerful, but it also contained a trace of the aura of the universe's principles. The aura of the universe's principles was very weak at first, but after Jian Wushuang had comprehended it under the Heaven Suppression Tablet for 5,000 years, he performed it again. The aura of the universe's principles contained in the swordsmanship was obviously much stronger than before. The power of the swordsmanship was also much stronger than before. The swordsmanship alone contained more universe origin of sword principle. The level of the swordsmanship could no longer be measured by the level of the absolute art, but it was undoubtedly Jian Wushuang's strongest move. The strongest move was directed at pupil master. At the same time, Jian Wushuang used the power of the will given by the universe principles. After all, the power of the will given by the universal principles was unique. It could double the basic power of Jian Wushuang's full strength. In other words, when Jian Wushuang used the life divine power and the heaven cleaving skill, the power of his divine power was 3 times that of a primary ruler. Now, when he used the power of the will, it was 6 times that of a primary ruler. 6 times. How amazing was that? Boom! The shocking sword light tore everything apart mercilessly. Pupil master seemed to have sensed the extraordinary power of Jian Wushuang's sword. He focused his eyes and held the red long staff with both hands. The 3-headed demon god behind him let out a shrill roar, then the long staff suddenly enlarged and smashed straight out. In the blink of an eye, it collided with the sword light. Clang! A metallic sound rang out. The moment the red long staff made contact with the sword light, it immediately changed the direction of the shocking power contained in the sword light. The pupil master's entire body was unsteady. The merciless sword light continued to slash at the pupil master. In the end, it slashed at pupil master's divine body without any obstruction. Pu! A large mouthful of fresh blood violently spurted out of pupil master's mouth. This fresh blood dyed the armor on his body red. Pupil master's face turned a few shades paler, and his figure was in an incomparably miserable state as he retreated explosively. This scene caused the surrounding principal's masters watching the battle to be flabbergasted. He spat out blood? A dignified pupil master fought head-on with this bloodsword master, and in the end, he was smashed by bloodsword master's sword until he spat out blood? He didn't succeed in his sneak attack, but in a head-on fight, he defeated pupil master's attack and smashed pupil master until he spat out blood. The many principal's masters present could not believe what they were seeing. There was nothing they could do. The scene before their eyes was simply too unbelievable. The difference between a ruler and a principal's master was simply too great. Anyone below a ruler was an ant, and this was something that was publicly acknowledged. However, the scene before their eyes completely broke common sense. A principal's master was comparable to a ruler and could even defeat a ruler. Did they not see that pupil master had been beaten until he vomited blood by bloodsword master? At this moment, pupil master was also stunned. How could he be so powerful? Pupil master stared at Jian Wushuang with a horrified expression. Others did not know his strength and trump card, but he knew it very well. After using a secret skill and 3 demon gods appeared around him, his strength could even fight with an advanced ruler in a short time. With such strength, he was completely crushed by his opponent with his strongest strike. Even when his opponent destroyed his attack, he was also smashed to the point that he vomited blood. Although it was not a big deal for a ruler to spit out 2 mouthfuls, and the consumption of divine power was not too great, it meant that the residual power of Jian Wushuang's sword had hurt him. He defeated my attack, but the power of his sword can still hurt me. Pupil master's heart was in turmoil. After all, he was wearing the supreme true treasure armor. With the protection of the supreme true treasure armor, he was still injured by the residual power of Jian Wushuang's sword. What did this mean? It meant that the power of Jian Wushuang's sword was incredible. Only the top few advanced rulers could perform such a powerful attack. Blood sword master's battle strength is much stronger than ordinary advanced rulers. Pupil master's heart finally began to tremble.